You know what's strange? We treat motivation like it's the answer, the fuel, the thing you need before you can start. Entire industries are built on this idea. Motivational videos, inspirational quotes, productivity gurus telling you to just want it more. But here's what nobody tells you. The reason you're not executing isn't because you lack motivation. It's because you're relying on it in the first place. And that dependency is exactly why execution keeps failing. If you've ever felt incredibly motivated at night, planned your entire life, and then woken up the next morning feeling completely different, if you've ever watched something inspiring and felt ready to change only for that energy to disappear hours later, then what I'm about to tell you will explain everything. Because motivation isn't broken, it's just the wrong tool for the job. Two of the most influential psychologists in history studied this from completely different angles and reached the same conclusion. Human beings are not built to rely on motivation. And once you understand why, everything about execution starts to make sense. Daniel Kahneman spent his career studying how the mind actually makes decisions, and what he discovered changes everything. We don't operate as consistently rational beings. We run on two systems. System 1 is fast, automatic, emotional, and energy efficient. It's the part of your brain that jumps to conclusions, takes shortcuts, and prefers comfort. System 2 is slow, deliberate, effortful, and requires real mental work. It's the part that analyzes, plans, and executes difficult tasks. Here's the problem. Execution lives in System 2, but survival prefers System 1. Kahneman wrote, "The brain is a machine for jumping to conclusions." And that sentence explains why motivation is unreliable. Motivation is a System 1 feeling. It's automatic. It's emotional. It costs nothing. But execution is a System 2 behavior. It's effortful. It requires energy. And your brain is constantly trying to avoid that expense. Every time you say, "I'll do it when I feel like it," you're unknowingly handing control to the part of your mind designed to conserve energy, not create progress. This is why motivation feels powerful in the moment but disappears so quickly. The emotional signal fades, and your brain returns to efficiency mode. It's not that you're weak, it's that your brain is doing exactly what it's designed to do. Protect resources. Kahneman's research shows that willpower is not a stable resource. It fluctuates based on fatigue, stress, hunger, and cognitive load. In other words, the very mechanism people rely on to execute is biologically unstable. You're trying to build consistency on a foundation that shifts every few hours. So if motivation can't be trusted, what actually drives consistent action? That question was answered decades earlier by B.F. Skinner, who approached behavior from a completely different direction. Skinner didn't study feelings, he studied behavior patterns, and what he found was simple but powerful. People repeat what is reinforced, and they stop what is not. He wrote, "The consequences of behavior determine the probability that the behavior will occur again. Not motivation, not intention, consequences." This shifts the entire conversation. You don't go to the gym because you feel inspired. You go because something in your environment or routine reinforces that behavior. You don't procrastinate because you're unmotivated. You procrastinate because procrastination is being rewarded, usually with comfort, distraction, or relief from stress. Skinner demonstrated that behavior is shaped by reinforcement loops, not emotional states, and your brain is constantly asking one question: did this action pay off immediately? If yes, repeat it. If no, avoid it. And this creates the execution gap that frustrates so many people. Modern goals, fitness, learning, building something meaningful, they all have delayed rewards. But the brain evolved to respond to immediate reinforcement. Scrolling gives instant stimulation. Avoiding difficulty gives instant relief. Execution gives nothing right away. So your brain chooses what feels better now, not what matters later. This is not a character flaw. It's conditioning. Kahneman explains why your brain resists effort. Skinner explains why your brain repeats unhelpful patterns. Together, they show that motivation fails because it's trying to override systems that are already wired into you. And that leads to the real solution. Stop trying to feel motivated and start engineering reinforcement. Execution becomes reliable when you redesign the environment around behavior instead of relying on emotion. Here's what that looks like in practice. First, make actions smaller than your brain can resist. Kahneman's work shows that the mind avoids cognitive strain. Large tasks trigger System 2 resistance, but very small actions slip past that defense. Instead of work out for an hour, the execution version is start 5 minutes. The goal isn't intensity. The goal is bypassing resistance. You're not building motivation. You're removing the barrier that makes starting feel expensive. Second, attach immediate rewards to difficult behaviors. Skinner showed that delayed rewards are weak shapers of behavior. If you want consistency, the action itself must feel reinforcing now. This can be as simple as tracking completion visually, pairing the task with something enjoyable, or creating a clear sense of closure after finishing. The brain must learn, when I do this, something positive happens immediately, not next month, right now. Third, remove the rewards from behaviors you want to stop. Most people try to fight bad habits directly. Skinner's research suggests a different strategy. Eliminate the reinforcement. If distraction is easy, it will win. If friction is added, the behavior weakens. Execution is less about forcing good actions and more about making bad ones unrewarding. Delete the apps. Log out of everything. Put your phone in another room. You're not testing your willpower. You're removing the reinforcement loop. Fourth, reduce the number of decisions required to act. Kahneman demonstrated that decision-making drains mental energy. The more choices involved, the less likely execution becomes. Routines solve this problem. When behavior becomes automatic, it no longer depends on motivation or effortful thinking. You're not deciding to act, you're following a pattern. And patterns are what the brain trusts. This is why highly consistent people often look less passionate, not more. They're not acting from bursts of inspiration. They're operating inside systems that make action easier than avoidance. Motivation is emotional, execution is structural. One fades, the other compounds. If you understand this, the question changes. From how do I stay motivated to how do I make action the path of least resistance? That's the core of execution psychology. You're not trying to become a more driven person. You're building conditions where behavior repeats itself. Kahneman revealed that the mind resists effort. Skinner revealed that behavior follows reinforcement. Put those together and the formula becomes clear. Make the right action easy to start. Make it immediately rewarding. Make the wrong action harder to access. Repeat until the behavior no longer requires thought. Here's what happens when you stop chasing motivation and start engineering execution. You don't feel more inspired. You just move more. The days when you don't feel like it, you still act. Because the action isn't dependent on your mood anymore. It's dependent on the system you built. And systems don't need feelings to function. The people who execute consistently aren't more motivated than you. They're just operating inside environments where the right behavior is easier than the wrong behavior, where starting is frictionless, where continuing is reinforced, where quitting is more difficult than staying. That's not discipline. That's design. So here's the truth most people won't accept. If you're waiting to feel motivated before you act, you're waiting for a signal that was never meant to sustain you. Motivation gets you started, maybe, but it won't get you through the middle. It won't carry you when things get hard, and it definitely won't be there on the days when everything feels pointless. What will carry you is structure, not passion, not inspiration, structure. The boring, unsexy, systematic approach that removes decisions, adds friction to distractions, and makes execution the default. So here's your move. Stop asking how to stay motivated. Start asking what one behavior you can make easier than avoidance. What one action can you shrink so small your brain can't resist it? What one distraction can you remove so the wrong choice becomes harder? Because execution isn't about how you feel today. It's about what your environment trains you to do tomorrow. And once behavior is trained, motivation becomes irrelevant. If this changed how you think about execution, subscribe. Next time, we're breaking down why smart people procrastinate more. And it's not because they're lazy, it's because their intelligence is working against them.